Guyger has been found guilty of murder. She is the Dallas police officer who killed a man named Botham Jean in his own home. He was unarmed. Let's bring in.
Where you parked when you were finishing your phone call with Martin Rivera?
Yes, it was.
You believe you were on the 3rd floor at that time?
Yes, I did.
Is this the viewpoint you would have had once you got out of the truck and closed your door?
Yes, it is.
And stage 25, is that a view of the truck as it was parked looking back from the doorway?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we can see the parking spot is pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
Please don't leave, Mr. Ship.
I'm sorry,
Thank
Jen. Once you got out of the truck, what did you do with your equipment?
I carried it with me.
Okay. Tell the jury how you usually carry the equipment.
I always carry my equipment in my left arm.
Okay. Why is that?
We're always taught to keep your gun side hand empty at all times.
So your normal routine, you carry all that equipment in your left hand.
Yes, sir.
As you got out and started to go to your apartment, can you tell the jury what path you took?
I went directly down that path, down the hallway.
Okay. Are there any markings, or can you point out any markings that you can see there near the doorway or on the columns?
No, sir.
Is that how it appeared on that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As you near the doorway, as you have it, what would you say?
I was just ready to go home.
As you turn left, you go down another hallway, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Look at stage 92, is that the other hallway?
Yes, it is.
Stage 93, is that getting close down the hall?
Yes, it is.
Now, Amber, let me ask you, what's your normal routine when you get to your apartment, how you open it?
I just pull out my keys and put it in the keyhole.
Okay. And when you put it in the keyhole, what happens?
Usually you put it in, a light will turn, it will be either green or red, and you turn it to the left to unlock it.
Okay. Stand right here. Okay. First of all, when you were walking down that hall, I want you to show the jury how you carry this equipment, okay?
Your Honor, and you take it right.
No, keep going. I want to know what is that.
Johnson, please retire.
All right.
Take about a 10-minute break. You know, maybe see it.
Going to say, you know, obviously they're going to make the decision of whether they believe it or not, but they do have to hear it, and she has to be able to convey it in some form or fashion. And so the judge typically judges when you get to emotional parts of the case, regardless of the witness, whether it's the defendant or some other witness, they're going to give them a moment to compose themselves.
How important is it for the jury to see some emotion out of Amber Guyger?
I think it's very critical. I mean, they need to know that she's not some automaton. They need to know that she had some reaction on a human level to create some emotional connection for her and the jury, because even though jurors are there to make decisions on the law and the facts, there is no doubt that emotion comes into it. And so that's primarily the reason for that type of testimony.
Why start with Amber Guyger?
I was a little surprised at that. I thought they were going to, I thought the defense may call some other witnesses to lay a foundation for her ultimate testimony, but I think they may be doing it in reverse. So they call her first. She's fresh this morning, presumably, you know, get her story out, and then have supporting witnesses throughout the rest of the day and maybe into tomorrow to help explain and expound on whatever her testimony is going to be.
How long would you expect them to have her on the stand?
Well, we've been going for an hour. I would expect easily probably another hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then probably turn her over to the prosecution for cross-examination at that point. So I think she'll be on definitely for the rest of the morning, probably.
Maybe all day.
Maybe all day, because then the defense will probably ask her some rebuttal questions.
Now, do they have how key is it going to be for the jury to believe that she legitimately thought she was on the third floor?
I think it's going to be absolutely key for the jury to believe that. If they believe that she made a mistake of fact, that she legitimately thought she was on her floor, then that's they're going to be the prerequisite for them, for the defense then to argue self-defense, and and get the jury to that point to believe that it was self-defense, and ultimately to get an acquittal. If the jury doesn't believe that there's no way she could have thought she was on her floor, then that brick that lays the foundation for the rest of the defense just falls apart. And
let's explain to folks out there mistake of fact. Let's explain just sort of the legal arguments. What has to happen here for her? What does she have to prove?
Sure. So mistake of fact is a legal defense in the penal code to where every crime, let me back up one step. Every crime has to have both an act, and it has to have you have to have a certain mental state when you're committing the crime. The mistake of fact goes to negate her state of mind. If she legitimately thought what she was doing was the right thing to do, was lawful, she had every right to be doing what she was doing because she believed a set of circumstances existed, then that would negate the criminal mental state that the prosecutors have to prove. If the jury believes that, then it sets up the stage for self-defense. So the self-defense then comes in for her actions once she enters the apartment. Because if she's established that it was a mistake of fact, that she thought it was her apartment, then because she thought it was an apartment, the law will allow her to act in a certain way to defend her property, to defend herself. And if the jury believes all that, then the defense would have laid a foundation for an acquittal.
The Castle Doctrine.
The Castle Doctrine. So the Castle Doctrine, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, there you go.
The Castle Doctrine is, the law basically says if you're in your house and someone breaks in,
I compare it to being into a car wreck. Right before you hit that car, you literally just, everything freezes up inside your body. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's just fear, pure fear inside of you.
Was there a light on inside your apartment?
No,
Or what you believe was your apartment?
no, there was not.
As that door began to open, what were you looking for? What was going through your mind?
My cat, since I knew somebody was moving around inside my apartment, I wanted just to find that threat.
What were you feeling? with that
Fear,
threat?
scared as crap.
As the door opened, did you see it
Service weapon out.
all at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you saw that figure, or silhouette of a figure at the back, did you do anything?
Yes. That's whenever I pulled my gun out and I yelled at him. It's like, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
What was the figure doing?
Him moving around.
Did that cause you some concern?
Yes.
Why is that?
I couldn't see his hands.
How fast does this happen?
Real fast. It's seconds.
Okay. Are you still holding your equipment?
Yes, I am.
How's the door staying open?
I'm using my equipment to prop it open because those doors are heavy.
What did the figure do after you said, let me see your hands?
He started coming towards me.
How fast was he coming towards you?
A fast-paced walk.
Wasn't running?
Wasn't running.
All right. When you saw him coming towards you, what was going through your mind?
I thought that he was coming at me. Because if I couldn't see his hands, he was going to kill me.
Did you hear anything as he was walking towards you?
There was a loud yell. He was yelling, "Hey, hey, hey!"
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know the length of your apartment from the front door to that back where the figure was is how far?
30 feet.
Okay. And I showed you a mark of this about right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want you to first tell the jury exactly how loud you said, "Let me see your hands."
I said, "Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands."
And you had the gun pointed.
Yes, sir.
And the figure was moving around as you described.
Yes, I have my gun pointed, and I'm saying, "Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands."
What were you focused on?
Him.
Just him?
Yes.
And then he began coming towards you.
Yes.
And as he began coming for you, that's when you heard him speak.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to do that now, all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
And that's at that point whenever I shot.
Somewhere in this area.
Yes.
When you shot, what happened?
He fell.
Go ahead and tell us.
That, because she said she feared for her life. So I'm just trying to figure out how the prosecution established what he was doing in the moments leading up to his death.
Now, the defense basically reiterated it when Amber Guyger took the stand last Friday. She said that that he was moving forward towards her. Now, they brought in the medical examiner who looked at all the forensic evidence and talked about the path of the bullet. That's medical science. That's not really anything that is up for debate as far as which way the bullet went into Botham Jean's body. Apparently, it went in at an angle this way, and it hit the heart, it hit the lung, it hit the intestine twice, and came resting on the back. It did not go through his body. Now, she was not 9 feet tall and shooting down, so that led the medical examiner to believe that there was some sort of leaning. Either the defense said he was leaning forward, kind of insinuating that he was moving towards her, but the prosecution argued this could have been a man getting up off of his couch after somebody is coming to his apartment. Again, the jury seemed to believe the prosecutor on this side that he was getting up. You mentioned the bowl of ice cream. It was Thursday night. He had turned the lights off in his apartment. He had a bowl of ice cream. His TV was on. He was watching Thursday night football, like many Americans do. And this happened. She had just come off work, and she was coming to what she thought was her apartment, heard what was going on inside, and her training kicked in. This is something also the prosecution really went after. She used her training to carry her gear in her non-shooting hand, almost 30 pounds of gear, so she could keep her shooting hand accessible to her weapon. She followed that part when she was going in. Opened the door, even said, "Let me see your hands, let me see your hands." Also, another training by police. But prosecutors absolutely raked her over the coals, saying, "How come you didn't follow your other training? You're trained to do CPR. Why didn't you do that?" If you're in a situation where you are you're able to conceal and contain a suspect, you're walking distance from Dallas Police Headquarters. You had a radio on. You could have easily called in backup. And the quote that he used was, "You could have had the cavalry there in 2 minutes in your own apartment. Why didn't you do that? You followed procedure here, but you didn't hear. What happened? Your mistake," is what the prosecution was saying. Your mistake basically cost both of Jean his life.